guys, another unboxing from MoYu, and you can just see that we have quite a few new things in here that I was not expecting. So starting off from the left here, we have some new Keychain Cubes. I actually didn't know that they were coming out with these, so this is pretty cool. We have a lot of different sizes here. This one I am really excited to try out. Actually, this is the second version of the MF3RS. Of course, the magnetic version of the Yileng Pro. And this one is a new non-WCA puzzle. This is a Fisher time wheel, I believe. Alright, so let's just go ahead and get started with these mini keychain cubes. You can see we have 30mm, 35, and 40. So yeah, we'll just go from the smallest to the biggest. And I'm sure these are the exact same mechanisms, but just in different size variants. So here is the 30mm one. Yeah, it definitely turns well, but I just don't really like keychain cubes. I think they kind of hinder the solve and all that, and I personally don't really carry around a cube, so it's not really necessary for someone like me, but if you do, then this would be a great puzzle to have and just carry around. And I think it is a very nice size. I mean, if you want to be discreet, it is fairly small enough, but just big enough to be able to do an adequate solve. And we'll just go ahead and get into these other ones here. Alright, so 35mm. This one is of course much easier to handle and turn. Yeah, these feel really nice so far. I'm not really sure what mechanism they use. I assume like an MF3RS or something like that. Yeah, I think it's around the same mechanism as the 45mm Mini 3x3, I think, like the 50mm and the 45. So not necessarily the MF3RS, but still a pretty similar mechanism. And the feelings are really nice. They're super smooth. They perform super well. And here is the largest keychain size, the 40mm. So yeah, I don't really think that 40mm really constitutes a keychain being added. I mean, 40mm isn't really the size to be able to just easily throw in your pocket and carry around. I think in that case, the 30mm would definitely be the best size. But yeah, overall these turn super well. I think they're the same mechanisms as the 45 and 50mm cubing classroom mini 3x3s. And I guess if I were to choose my favorite, I would have to say the 30mm. Just because I think if Cubing Classroom is going for a keychain cube, the smallest size makes more sense to me versus something just 10mm away from just a normal OH cube. But yeah, if you're looking for some new keychain cubes, these are some really great ones from Cubing Classroom. Alright, so now let's check out the non-WCA puzzle. So I believe this one is a Fisher version of the Wheel of Time from MoYu. So it definitely looks really interesting. Definitely not like the regular Wheel of Time. But yeah, that just looks really, really strange. Let's see, where does this thing turn? Alright, so here are the center wheels. So in the original Wheel of Time, these kind of protruded out, but I guess they just went with just a normal cubic shape this time. So it is a little bit hard to turn these wheels just because everything kind of just wants to move. And I am getting a little bit catching too. So I'll definitely have to just, you know, break it in. I mean, with a non-WCA puzzle, you really don't have to worry about the turning. But just getting lockups and catches, that kind of takes away from the solving experience. So yeah, along with these moves, it can also make these like a Fisher cube. So yeah, these slices are definitely super nice. You can see it's not capped, so it kind of gives off that crispy, slight crunchy feeling, but it's still overall really smooth. And yeah, it also moves along these layers, which is really cool. So yeah, I've never solved the regular Wheel of Time, but I just assumed that these kind of wheels sort of emulate the 5x5 centers. So yeah, checkerboard on the Fisher cube. So these centers, I imagine, are going to be pretty hard to turn just because, I mean, even with these pieces sticking out, you don't really have anything to grasp onto. So this one will be definitely really tricky. I mean, I can't even figure out how to turn it super well right now. But I'll just have to play around with this thing and just see how it works out. So I guess we'll just go ahead and scramble this thing up and see how it looks. So you can see this already looks pretty cool. I'm hoping it's not too difficult. I mean, I don't think it really should be, but I've never really solved anything like this before. So yeah, you really have to just align the pieces, because otherwise it is pretty difficult to make these wheel turns. But for the most part, I think this puzzle is of really, really nice quality. I mean, it is MoYu, so the turning is really great. I mean, it doesn't feel like any of these pieces are going to break super easily. But I just think that, I mean, these wheels are just so small, so I mean, it is going to just innately feel a little bit more difficult to turn. But for the most part, definitely a really smooth puzzle, and it seems like a pretty fun challenge. So I'm just going to go ahead and call that scrambled. I'm not going to try to solve it on camera. But if you're looking for a new non-WCA challenge, then this one would be a really great one. Alright, so now for the MF3RS2. So I went ahead and grabbed my regular MF3RS, and this thing is my all-time favorite budget 3x3. So I'm really excited to see how this compares to the second version. So we'll just go ahead and open it up and see how this thing performs. Alright, here it is. So you can see a few minor differences just from the aesthetics. Just under the center here, you can kind of see in the hole there that there's kind of that bottom lip right under the center. You can see it doesn't have it here on the first version. But I guess aside from that, the pieces are fairly similar. I guess the edges aren't quite as rounded on the second version. And I guess this second version does feel a bit more beveled, but let's just go ahead and get into the turning. Wow, that is really, really great. It really doesn't feel like a budget cube, honestly. I'm personally getting a little bit a hint of the GTS2, but of course a much cheaper version of that. It just feels a little bit more sandy, a little bit more crispy. Yeah, you can see it's kind of locking up a bit, but the tensions, wow, that is tight. So yeah, I'll definitely have to set this thing up, but for the most part, it's turning really well. I'm really liking the performance right now. And the actual feeling of the puzzle is certainly much different from this original MF3RS. This one feels a lot crispy, a little bit more bumpy, and just more crunchy overall. And it just has more of that budget cheap 3x3 feeling to it. This one, it kind of feels more like a GuoGuan with squared off corners, whereas this one is honestly very reminiscent of the GTS2 to me. So I guess we'll just go ahead and check the corner cutting. Yeah, it's not really doing a whole lot, but I mean, for what it's worth, the tensions are super tight. So I think for what it is, it's doing a very good amount. So yeah, I would have to set this thing up, but out of the box and first impressions, this is definitely a really big upgrade compared to the regular MF3RS. This one, it just feels a little bit more cheap, whereas this one, I think we're getting closer to the feeling of the higher and more premium 3x3s. But yeah, let's check out the pieces. It feels like a very, very big difference. So starting off with the corners, wow, okay. So right away you can see that the stock is definitely a lot longer on the second version. But the first version has a much larger base, and it's just overall more rounded. You can see here it's a little bit more angular and more sharp. And so as for these squared off corners, the first version looks like it's a little bit more brittle. It's more thin, whereas the second one, it kind of angles downward a little bit more elegantly. You can see it's not really too abrupt, whereas this one, it's kind of just like a cap. So this one would definitely cause a lot more catching. As for the edges, yeah, I can see why I'm getting kind of a hint of a GTS2 feeling from the second version. You can see here, that edge piece is very reminiscent of the Yileng GTS. It's just a little bit more intricate than the first MF3RS edge here. It's just overall a much more simple design. And yeah, you can tell that there is a very big difference in the center designs. This one, it takes on more of the Yileng GTS center, whereas this one is just overall more simple. So in terms of the mechanisms, the second version is definitely a lot more intricate. It seems a lot of it was inspired by the Yileng GTS series, so it does feel very similar, but I think it's because of the plastic that they use that this one definitely feels a little bit more cheap. So if you're getting into speed cubing, I definitely think that this is a really great choice. It doesn't necessarily feel too cheap, but at the same time, I don't think it's going to beat out a Volk or GTS2, of course. But I mean, if you have like a Guanlong or even the first version of the MF3RS, the second version is a really big upgrade, so I definitely recommend it. Alright, and so of course what I am most excited for, the magnetic version of the Yuxiao Pro. And so on the box it does signify a magnetic version or not. So let's just go ahead and get into this. Alright, whoa, wait, hold up. What? Okay, wait, let me check out the box. Oh, this is a XingHen M. Okay, that's pretty cool. I didn't know that they were working on this. But yeah, here it is. I'm just super surprised right now because I did not know that this was gonna come out. So it looks like this also comes with the MoYu adjustment tool that kind of evens out your tension. So you have the screwdriver, and under here I assume are some tensioning tools. Oh, no. Okay, so all they do is just include this extra screwdriver and a clear stand, but that's still pretty cool. And the Team MoYu card, I have Antoine Canton. But here is the puzzle, so let's just see how this thing performs. Alright, so let's just go ahead and do the first turns. Honestly, the magnets are not too noticeable. I mean, turning it slowly, you can definitely tell that there is that distinct magnetic click, but just turning it regularly, it kind of just feels like a normal XingHen, but the stability is pretty much still there. So I think for 2x2, that's a pretty good case, just because it's the type of puzzle where if you have something too slow or just not fast enough, you can't get good times. So I think they made a pretty good move there, but let's just see if we can take a cap off and see what the magnets are. I'm guessing around N50s, but it really doesn't feel too strong, so I assume a smaller size magnet. But here we go. Yeah, it looks like around 3 by 1.5 or maybe 3 by 2 millimeter magnets in here. And based on the size, I am gonna just assume it's like N50s or something. But let's just go ahead and check out the corner cutting. Yeah, this thing is not doing too well. I can tell it is kind of tight, so I'll definitely have to give this thing a setup, but for the most part, it seems pretty good out of the box. So it's not released yet, and I obviously don't know the price, but I'm gonna guess it's around $15 to $20 or so. So I can definitely see people using this as a 2x2 main. I personally think I would just stick with the Cosmic Chuan M just because that puzzle fits my turning style a little bit better. But it's certainly not a bad cube. I still need to set it up because I am getting a few lockups with these tensions, but for the most part, definitely a really good cube. Alright, so that pretty much wraps it up for this unboxing. You can see that I went ahead and tried to solve this Fisher Wheel of Time, but I actually forgot that what you should do with these type of puzzles is solve these side centers and then follow up with the white and yellow, since the centers don't have an orientation here. But yeah, this one was really fun to figure out. It is a fairly intuitive solve, but it is still fun and it turns super well. The XingHen, for the most part, it is pretty good out of the box, but I'll still have to just set it up and see how it turns out. And if you're looking to get a magnetic 2x2, this one is definitely a really great option. MF3RS, this one just blew me away. It doesn't really feel like a budget cube at all, honestly. I imagine once I set it up and maybe throw some magnets in there, it's going to be absolutely phenomenal. So definitely look out for a follow-up on this one. And these Keychain Cubes, they're definitely really fun. They're really great quality. They turn super well, but I just don't see any need to keep them. So I'm just going to go ahead and give them away to you guys. And since these are pretty small, it's not really too worth it to send each one to 3 different winners. So I'm just going to keep them as one bundle, and one winner will get all 3. And since these are pretty small, I think I'm just going to limit it to US residents only, since I don't see it being worth it for you international viewers to pay like $10 shipping for like $7 worth of cubes. And so if you do want to enter the giveaway, all you have to do is like this video and follow the Gleam link to see other ways that you can enter. But I hope you guys did enjoy this unboxing, and I'll see you guys in the next video.